Genuinely ask yourself how often something bad happens to you or to somebody you care about, and your first reaction is to thank God that it wasn't worse than it could have been. Because even for myself particularly, I feel like even with the most slight inconvenience, I'm like, God, why? Like, why me? Or of course this would happen to me. Or my first response is poor, pitiful me, or some sort of me being upset with God because this happened to me, instead of being thankful that the outcome wasn't worse. Like on the way here, I caught myself getting upset because there's this flat tire, somehow like an entire tire in the middle of the road, like directly in the middle of the road, and I couldn't swerve left or right because I would hit the cars next to me. So I basically just had to like pray it would go under my car, and it didn't. And it left it rubbed some of the paint, whatever, off of the front of my hood. And it's barely noticeable. But my first thought was like, of course, this would happen to me. Like, thank you, God. Like I was just being sarcastic and very upset. And then I sat there and I was like, that could have popped up and hit my window, or it could have dented my vehicle. It could have taken off more paint. It could have, literally you can't even tell that it happened unless you're like visibly trying to look for it. And even then you probably have a hard time trying to figure out exactly where I'm talking about, because there's not a dent, it's barely anything rubbed off. And I tried to switch my mindset from being upset. Somebody's about to step in here, but okay, well, let me, maybe he's not, and he is. Okay, I'll be back. Whew, that was the perfect opportunity for me to practice what I preach, and instead of getting upset whenever that person walked in, to say, maybe there's a reason they're walking in, maybe I'm gonna have a better message now because of it, but instead I got annoyed, and I'm saying to myself, there's another sauna right there that's completely empty, and I'm sitting here trying to make my video. It would have been nice if you would have saw that I was making my video and went to the other one. But everything happens for a reason, and there's nothing I could gain from getting upset by that. I'm not going to change. He came and sat down in there regardless. That's what happened, and me being upset about it isn't going to affect anyone besides myself. So I came out of there, and as I'm walking out upset, I'm like, let me switch my mindset. There's a reason that happened, and I'm thankful to God that something worse didn't happen. Maybe I could have knocked over my camera and broke it getting out of the sauna. There's always could have been a worse outcome. Speaking of that, I walk out here, there's these little slits in the wood, and I drop my necklace, it slides under the bottom, and it's caged around the entire way. So I don't know if I can get my necklace out or how I'm gonna do that, but there's an example of something worse that could have happened. But again, it's just test after test, and I think that these are perfectly timed and perfectly placed for in the moment of me giving these messages, that things that are unfortunate or a little bit out of my control happen, and God's seeing how I will handle that test. And if I handle it in a way that is me trying to grow in the spirit and grow as a person, I think that I'll be tested in those ways less. So I'm thankful that something worse didn't happen, that I didn't roll my ankle, break it or something. It always could have been a worse outcome. And maybe I dropped my necklace because now I'm gonna have to go search for it. And instead I would have left earlier and I would have gotten to a wreck, or something would have happened that would have altered my life in a much more negative aspect rather than just losing a necklace. So just have a positive outlook and understand that there always could be something worse that's happening. In the same sense, be thankful that this is something that's happening for a reason and could be for a higher purpose. And I think that if you are aligned, believing that whatever happens to you is for the right reasons and that you are trying to get closer to God consistently, then the reasons are for your ordained purpose. So that's the message. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, have a blessed one.